everyone, this is Dr. Alex Avila with Love University, and we're back. I'm an author, psychologist, and speaker. Every week we talk about how to love ourselves, others, and a higher nature, how to improve our finances, career, health, relationships, and spirituality. And we have a very fascinating guest who just kind of walked into our booth here at Love University, the book festival. And what is your name?
I'm Kimberly Smith.
Kimberly,
I go by Kimberly.
Kimberly Smith. And
Yeah.
Kimberly, you're what we know as a psychic,
Yes.
or a person that has certain intuitive abilities. Tell us a little bit about your background.
So I actually started out doing physical therapy as a living, and one day, spontaneously, while I was in the garden, I started seeing spirit objectively, which means in the space with me. Not in my mind's eye, but in the space with me. As I began to sort of surrender to that and listen, and not only that, but honor and pass along messages that were coming through, I realized communication was happening with the other side. So at that time, like I said, I was doing physical therapy, and it became so intense and it was happening so much that I couldn't do anything else. I had to surrender to it. Once I did, it sort of, the floodgates opened, it took over my life. So when I started to study quantum physics and metaphysics and quantum mechanics, it helped me to understand how this could happen, or why or what was happening, in such a way that I could put a framework to it and be able to turn it on and off and be more functional with it. I have since taken it to the next level, where not only do I channel spirit, I'm an evidential medium, which means I bring through evidence to prove to you that it's your dad or your mom or whoever coming through.
Okay.
Not by your request, though. So if you're going to say, can my mom tell you my nickname? That is it's a essence break. It breaks the essence and it falls to the ego. So it's whatever spirit wants to share. And that has sort of led me to helping you realize you're transparent too. The only reason why I can do that is because for some reason I'm transparent. So it's turned into coaching individuals, like you said, helping them design their best life, your finances, your love life, and your spirituality.
All right, because when you talk about other spirits, I'm thinking of the people that have died, like your, father or mother or whatever.
Right.
But do you do other things like see people's future potentials, or
I do.
That kind of thing, or maybe there's stumbling blocks or things like that?
Absolutely. So everybody is emoting what they're thinking about, what they're feeling about.
Right.
You're guaranteed to experience what you're thinking and feeling about. That's your destiny.
Right.
That's why mindfulness is so important. Because our minds can go down a rabbit hole, and sometimes we have to remember, like, that's not what I want to experience.
Okay.
So when we sort of reel it back in and practice mindful living, mindful thinking, my personal goal is to help everybody see you can do this yourself. Like truly you can. You just have to surrender. You have to listen. So I do channel your loved ones. I also channel, I call them like the greats, listening to Buddha, even Yeshua, Jesus. I call him Yeshua. Just to share. It's a shareable, completely shareable space.
So this young lady here is sitting next to you.
Uh-huh.
Is there any vibe you're receiving from her? Anything you want to talk?
So typically, I don't do readings on the spot, and here's why. This industry and this work has such a sensitivity around it as far as, can people trust it? People want to trust it. They want to believe in it. But, when we sort of set things up on the spot like this, here's what you need to consider. When we're doing true energy work, what's your first name again?
Helena.
Say it one more time.
Helena.
Helena?
Yes.
Okay. So when I would read for somebody, I would use her name as my mantra. Then I connect to what's happening in her space, right? That takes time for me to calibrate to her energy. But also, it is never my mission to allow this, to be seen as something like
a parlor trick.
Exactly.
Like a magic trick.
It's sacred.
So it's a deeper connection.
And I would want her to have the most sacred, impactful experience. So I would bring her into a space that I've cultivated for her. I would invite her to prepare questions to help her align, because we know how electricity works. If there's a charge, there's a conduit. If we have a proper ground, energy expands. So if we're properly grounded, she's going to have the best session possible.
It's pretty interesting. But see, as therapists, we can pick up someone has pain
Absolutely.
or happiness.
Yeah.
Are you the same way? Can you pick people up?
Yeah, for
Or
sure.
if they're a kind-hearted person or a curious person,
And that's essentially how it started.
so you have some of that ability.
Yes, that's essentially what overtook my life was hearing and seeing things and going up to strangers and saying, "Excuse me, your sister's here." But the state that it would bring them to in public, they're fighting with it because they don't want to be seen crying or they're not sure what's happening, but they want to hear from sister. It was so counterintuitive. So I prefer, to sort of cultivate a sacred space. But of course, you can walk around. Anybody empathic and listening to that can walk around and say, you can even look at body language and see where someone's carrying a charge in their field.
Because Laura Day, I don't know if you heard of her. I think she wrote a book
I haven't.
with Demi Moore. But she called herself practical intuition,
Beautiful.
which is a different way to look at it.
Yeah.
Because the word psychic has a lot of loaded, term, like a gypsy or something.
Right. That's why I hold the integrity.
Right.
Yeah.
But I guess you don't like the word intuitive. I asked you that, and you said, no, I'm a psychic.
Well, intuitive mentor is how I label myself.
Oh, you do? Oh, okay.
I do intuitive consulting if
Oh,
you're
okay.
making big business
Oh, I see.
decisions.
So you don't go to a business person and say, I'm a psychic.
Not really, because
corporations don't.
it's loaded.
Right.
People don't trust it. That's why I have to hold the integrity
Right.
and
So you
say,
do use the word intuitive.
Yes.
That's what I thought.
yeah, and that's such a beautiful space because everybody knows they have felt something, they've been pulled, they've been called. And essentially, when you help people trust that space or use that, like demonstrate, like I'll use my intuition to help people make big business moves.
Okay.
And
But
it's-
you have to listen. You can't do it immediately on the spot.
I can.
Okay.
Do I prefer that? No, because then it goes into the psychic place where it's
okay.
almost like a party
Like a
trick.
dark thing.
Right. So I
Do
would.
you have a question for this woman? She's a psychic intuitive. Ask her a question.
But it needs to be a question of authenticity,
Of course.
not a prove it question.
Well, let's give her 30
Because I don't go there.
No. Ask her, what are you curious about her? Ask her a question. What are you curious about psychic?
Curious about
She's a psychic. She can
So with psychic intuition, do you have any questions about how that works or even experiences that you've had? Have you had spiritual experiences?
Yes.
Like what?
but I don't have a question for this topic. I
That's okay.
understand.
That's
understand.
okay.
Oh, I think I see.
So rather than
if
a
I
question-
understand correct, because maybe you Alex told you I very bad don't speak English, but I try to understand.
Yes. So then, rather than a question, do you have an experience? Have you had an experience where you followed your own intuition?
Experience. Which one experience do you mean?
Like following your own gut feeling, like having a gut feeling or an intuition that you should or shouldn't do something. Have you had an experience like that before?
For my intuition? Yes, every day, all time, all day, all time, of course.
Beautiful. And you listen to it, right? You honor
Of
it.
course, yes, only.
Yeah.
Yes. If I have which order, a choice, I listen all inside me, my intuition.
Yes. So do you find that women are more trustworthy of that space than men in your experience?
What do you mean by trustworthy?
I feel like women trust their intuition more than men, or put it to play.
Right. I wrote a book, Love Types, on Myers-Briggs. You may have heard of the test that talks about intuitive versus sensitive. So those are dimensions. About two-thirds of people are sensory practical, but one-third are intuitive. So men actually can be intuitive too.
For sure.
But it falls on different pathways.
Interesting. I like that.
It's a different way to look at it.
Yeah.
But I think you probably can have good male clients, mostly, because you teach them how.
Absolutely.
But also their feeling too. There's just intuitive feeling is two different things.
That's right. Yep.
The intuition and the feeling.
Yes.
The reason I asked her because she's a curious person, and curiosity killed the cat. Right? But satisfaction brought it back.
Yeah.
You remember that phrase?
Yes.
Like in the, it's elementary school.
It's funny. Most people don't know the rest of that phrase.
That's part two. Yeah. That's more positive. Right? Okay. So I think I like what you're saying. So you're kind of a deeper reader, maybe in some ways, or understander of people.
Right.
So you want to give it a positive feeling about it.
Absolutely. I don't want this industry to be seen as a party trick.
Right. But I would like to, if possible, have an experience of it. Maybe through her or someone else. I don't know.
Were you?
Well, I'm the host, but I would like to see more about what you have,
Sure.
possibly, and why you do this, for example. What's the purpose?
You know, like I said, I didn't set out to do this myself. It sort of found me, and then the beauty of what was happening is why I started to sort of just surrender to it. When I see other people make a connection with a loved one in the afterlife, or even trust their own intuition, that's it for me. That's where I turn on.
So you're very compassionate, or
Yes.
empathetic?
Absolutely.
But sometimes people like you may feel hurt if you're a deep healer. You feel hurt by things?
Absolutely.
And people?
Probably too intensely.
Oh,
Yes.
okay. Now, are you in a relationship now?
No.
No.
No, that's a sore spot.
well-
He left. No,
Oh, he left.
we parted
Oh, okay.
back in the fall.
Was he also intuitive feeling, or was he different?
Not at all.
Different personality? Oh, yeah.
I mean, he was intuitive in his own way, but he was very shy to my work. Kind of like didn't want to hear it.
Shy away from the work.
Very nervous about it.
Okay.
Kind of.
So there wasn't really that inner connection, I guess. Soulmates, they call it.
Right.
And you
Right.
probably work in that field, right? The soulmates,
Yes. Soulmates versus twin flames.
soul
Right.
connections,
Right.
So I think there's something interesting about, do you have a background as a kid? Were you one of those indigo children?
So I grew up seeing lights, experiencing things, wild things happening, but nobody else was acknowledging what was happening around me, so I kind of dismissed it. In my late 20s, early 30s is when I began seeing spirit objectively versus subjectively, in your mind's eye versus, in your space with you. And that's, like I was saying, like when I began to just dive into quantum physics, metaphysics, quantum mechanics, quantum entanglement, to see like how the hell is this happening? Because some of the stuff that I've channeled, some of the stories has knocked my own socks off, and nearly made me retire this work altogether because it's so real and so profound.
Right. Now we do have a skeptic in the audience, I believe, with the question. A pastor's son. Who's so what do you think of this psychic thing? Well, no, honestly, you mentioned in the past you don't really believe in spiritual phenomena, or do you? Maybe we're wrong.
Yeah, I was raised Lutheran as a pastor's kid, and actually an atheist now, so lose the faith and everything else. In an older age, some folks, not myself, but people I know, might find themselves in a place where they are searching spirituality again and searching faith again. What do you think is a way in which we go about doing that?
What did you say? What is the way to go about searching spirituality?
Yeah, so like, what's a typical track or train people start on to try to find faith again?
Oh, that's a great question.
Are you done, or are you
First and foremost, I would say to know what you value. Because if you know what you value, that's what you're going to measure yourself against. Because if you measure yourself against somebody else's values, you'll break yourself. Right? If you know what you value, you function from that, which means you're living in authenticity. When you are functioning in your authenticity, I can't think of anything more spiritual than that. You're going to feel most connected with yourself, with the world around you, because you're true to you. Right? You live by your own, you live by the way of your own nature. When you do that, you'll make profound connections around you. And that, to me, that's the essence of spirituality. Faith is, of course, like knowing the road is there beyond the fog. Like, I can't see very far ahead of me, but I'm going to keep driving, right? It's blind almost, but
if he's an atheist, can you convert him to be a believer?
absolutely not. I would never cross your will. If your
or spiritual.
choice,
I mean, let's say he's not a spiritual person at all.
yeah,
Maybe like your ex-boyfriend.
Right.
Would you want to convert him to be spiritual?
I would encourage
He's laughing a lot.
you.
Why are you laughing?
I hear a lot, that's all.
I would encourage you to honor your truth. I would not disgrace you by asking you to believe in what I believe in. That to me is the sickest type of work. Say, hey, this is what I do, you should too. If atheism is what you align to, I honor that. Because it takes all the colors of the rainbow to make a rainbow, right? We can't disgrace each other by thinking there's a right way to exist. Like, holy shit, are you kidding? There's no right way to exist. Thank God. Right?
So you
It's
could
also
not.
just words, right?
Yeah.
People define themselves
So
as an
you
atheist.
could not help him if he came to you.
Well,
Or could-
here's the thing. Why do we think he needs help? Unless you're
let's say he
saying,
does.
unless you're saying, if you're saying I'm atheist, I'm broken, I need something more, then I would say, okay, let's talk.
Well, what if he
But
says,
I
I'm
would-
atheist, I want to be rich, give me some psychic ability. Or
I want to be rich.
or whatever it is. Yeah, I want to be, something.
Exactly. Yeah.
Then what? Can you still help them? Can you help someone who doesn't believe in spirituality?
Of course. Yeah. Because we're not just spirit, we're flesh. We have to honor the totality. But I would never consider atheism a problem unless you're like, oh man, this isn't working out for me anymore. It's like I used to be attending a Catholic church until I realized like, I don't align with this at all. I'm out. And before I left, they actually threw me out. So I was like, this works out great.
Isn't that how that happens? Like they fire you right before, right at the time you want.
Okay. Well, thank you very much. I mean, I think
Absolutely.
you're giving us a very nice perspective of how this works.
Yeah.
So you're a spiritual intuitive, I should call it, right?
I'm an intuitive consultant. I kind of help people design their best life. We talk about five pillars of life and the 3 pillars of you.
Yes.
3 pillars of you are mind, body, spirit. If you have mind, body, spirit coherence with atheism, you're going to live an amazing life. The coherence is the key. That goes back to what you value, living in authenticity. And then the 5 pillars of life are, money, profession, relationships, your personal character. So, same thing.
He's smiling at you. I think he's happy now with the response. So I guess, if you're happy within your nature, you have to be authentic.
Live by the way of your own nature.
That's very important.
And you'll live the best life.
Right.
But the moment we start gauging ourselves against other people's values or truths, immediately that's when we break ourselves, We disgrace ourselves terribly doing that.
I like the way you keep saying disgrace. So you don't want to disgrace it.
That's the book I'm writing.
Is it called Disgrace?
It's called Disgraced.
Wow.
Wow.
Essentially, because, to me personally, it's important to be able to hold our grace, which means, live from your authenticity. But also to not disgrace others by imposing your beliefs or your truths, not allowing that to happen to you as well, and recognizing when you're doing it to someone or when they're doing it to you, even unintentionally.
That's very powerful. Where can we hear more about you, by the way? Do you have a website, any kind of things going on?
My website is KimberlyRay.com. All of my work is there. All of my projects are there.
Excellent.
All across social media. Thank you.
Well, it's been a pleasure.
So
Yeah, it's been wonderful. I'd love to have you again, talk more about this. There's a lot of the depth here we need to explore
Really interesting.
another time.
Yes, definitely.
Thank you very much. It's been a pleasure.
And I would love to answer some of those questions a little more in tune.
Yes, we
with spirit.
definitely can. Are you nearby, or where are you located?
My booth, or
No,
where do I live?
Yes, you live.
So I live in Ohio. I'm
Wow.
just here.
Oh, just visiting. Oh, okay.
I'm
So
just
we're
here
gonna, I'll
for
have
the
to go to
event.
Cleveland to see you, maybe.
I'm just here, but I come here a lot.
Okay.
I come
Fantastic.
here a lot.
My phone is that.
Dr.
Are
Alex
you on
Avila with
Instagram?
Love University.
Yes,
It's been a
I
pleasure.
am.
See you next time. So that was a great interview live at the Los Angeles Book Festival at USC. We had an amazing time, and this is a great opportunity to interview these wonderful authors and people that have a message that's going to help others. So Love University students, if you want to be on the show in the future, or if you have a show idea and want to comment on today's show, you can reach us at 310-226-8090. You can write to us at loveuniversitylove@gmail.com. You can visit us at loveuniversity.love. You can also download the podcast on Podbean, Spotify, SoundCloud, and iTunes. You can like us and follow us on Facebook and Instagram at Love University Podcast. Follow us on Twitter at Love Letter U Podcast. And you can also go to our YouTube channel, Love University. So until next time, this is Dr. Alex Avila. It's time to put away your notebooks, your iPads, your phones. And class is now dismissed. Love yourself, others, and the higher nature. Until next time.